Welcome, everyone. We are so excited this morning to have the three workforce solutions join us for this webinar. My name is Prit Patel, and I'm the Senior Economic Development Manager here at the Council of Governments. So welcome to this webinar on workforce upskilling, reskilling programs that are available to our businesses and organizations across the region. We know this is a really important topic for many of you. So really quick, for all attendees, if you will use the chat feature for any questions you might have, just post your questions there. After the presentations are complete, we will then go into a Q&A session and answer some of your questions. I know there's a lot of great material that's going to be presented here today, and let's get started. I would like to welcome our guest presenters, Lori Larea, who is the President of Workforce Solutions for Greater Dallas, Judy McDonald and Renee Parker, who are with Workforce Solutions for Tarrant County, and then Fedra Radifer and Brandy Harrison Trotter, who are with the Workforce Solutions here with North Central Texas, which covers the other 14 counties across our region. So in addition to Lori, Fedra, and Judy, there may be some other workforce staff who may be participating in the presentation. So I just would like to welcome all of you and turn this webinar over to you. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for the presentations and all the questions that may come up. So welcome, and I will turn it over to you.
Great. Good morning. I am Judy McDonald, the Executive Director of Workforce Solutions for Tarrant County, joining you on this not so beautiful day today, but we are glad to be with you and talk about what we do every day and what we are so passionate about. We're going to bring a variety of approaches, tools, and dollars that we sometimes blend together to help the employers and job seekers in Tarrant County, Dallas, and North Central Texas, always working very closely with our EDCs, our community colleges, our cities, our universities. And I think you're going to hear about some other people that we partner with. We love partnering. I'm going to talk a little bit about our background, just so everybody knows that this is something we're very proud of, and I think sometimes people forget. But over 2 decades ago, the state of Texas created legislation that merged 28 employment and training services. And then through the next decades, because we've been so successful, they've added some additional services for us. So we really have a wide menu to offer you. And we love to be creative, but I guess I'm going to be the one who also says, we do still have rules and regulations. We don't like them, but they are there. And so I want you to know that we have a lot of accountability in these services and programs that we bring. And we're also held to some great performance measures. So we are a very performance-driven system. And over here are some rules and regulations. But we actually really like being creative. And we are always looking for ways to okay, we can't really do this over here, but maybe we can pull down some dollars over here. And that is the advantage of having all these different funding sources. And you don't need to know all the strings we are pulling, but it is your advantage. Like when you are courting a company, this is something that is unique. We are unique to any other workforce system in the country. We even have childcare dollars. The rest of the country is so jealous of that. It means our budgets are greater. They don't even really understand all that. But the bottom line is, and you'll hear about it today, it just means we have more opportunities and things we can put on our menu. We are going to try not to repeat each other too much. We could talk all day. We do. But I'm going to bring to some things that we designed around what we designed, because as we were listening to employers during COVID, we heard a great deal about what they needed right now with their existing employees. As you know, everybody was also looking for employees. Much to our dismay, none of us can actually grow them, but we do have things in our system that help us actually grow some local talent. But I'm going to talk about what we do with our existing employees, incumbent workers. Next slide. There you go. Incumbent worker training, skill up Tarrant, industry consortiums, and adult education and workplace literacy. Most of these are for a certain type of employee, perhaps, and we'll talk more later about adult education and workplace literacy that may be for some employees that need a different type of assistance. I am going to turn now the rest of the discussion over to Renee Parker, who I think is fabulous. She works in the as a business industry director.
Thanks, Miss Judy. Well, I think it's super important. I know Phaedra, Brandy, and Lori, we all do very similar things, and we work in very similar capacities with the businesses. But what we were hearing during COVID, like Judy said, was that businesses needed people. They needed talent today, and they were trying to react to the businesses they needed today. And oftentimes, you know, this upskilling word, the businesses were thinking about something today, but not necessarily thinking about the employees that they currently had in the house, right? Currently in their shop working. And that retention piece, I think, is huge when you're going into what we would call a talent shortage or needing talent. Because if you're upskilling your current employees, you're able to backfill those entry-level positions with folks from all of our systems and provide opportunities for different demographics and folks. So our incumbent worker program, all three of the workforce boards do similar. Our opportunity, we looked at funding and decided that we would do a $50,000 cap for applications. This was for small, medium, and large businesses. But the key to this was it's a percentage of reimbursement, cost pool reimbursement. So the smaller your company is, for example, we have a small company that has just under 13 employees. And that company was looking at really laying off employees. They were looking at trying to figure out how they can keep their talent and stay in business. They were a small business, a service industry-based business, and they needed to upskill in all of the different facets of their business. And so the incumbent worker program actually help them increase the skill level of their current employees, but then open positions to promote some of their folks to management or supervisor level. And so the incumbent worker, next slide, Britt, sorry. There are some details about the incumbent worker, but essentially it's funding for full-time and permanent employees within a company, and it's on a reimbursement based on a percentage of how many people you have within your company. So the smaller companies are obviously going to be reimbursed 75% up to 90%. And we took those applications via our website, and we were out marketing that, just like I know Brandy and Phaedra and Lori were out marketing to businesses how we can help. That program we felt was very important to small and medium size. Obviously, our larger employers have large budgets to do training, and we felt that some of the smaller and medium-sized companies didn't have that capability. So our incumbent program, we've currently had over 10 applicants, and we're funding 9 of those projects. And they range from small to mid-size manufacturing, like I said, service industry, childcare facilities. These opportunities wouldn't be available to these folks had they not heard a presentation by Workforce learning about incumbent worker training. So we feel like it's a great opportunity. It cuts down on turnover and layoffs, but it also increases your pipeline within your business. Next slide. And so all 3 of the workforce boards partnered with Texas Workforce Commission. I won't talk a lot about this, but I do love to mention that this is a free opportunity, no cost to any employers. It is we have taken our website and called it Skill Up Tarrant County, but it's the metrics portal in Texas, and every workforce board has this available to employees. Basically a on-demand training portal at your employees' fingertips. Of over 6,000 learning resources. So courses from OSHA to diversity, inclusion, and equity, Microsoft. We even have, there's even CompTIA and some very intricate IT trainings, and all of these are digital. So it's less about incumbent worker. We're in person. You have an in-person training provider coming in and doing that training. This is all online. This is all on your fingertips. And I feel like this generation of workers really wants things in the e-learning capability. So this has been a great resource, like I said, to small businesses. We've talked a lot to nonprofits that are trying to really increase their, coming out of COVID, they had to rehire folks and retrain, and some of the basics like Microsoft Office Suite and leadership training, supervisor training. Some of these things can be done hands-on, basically with a free tool, and that's our Skill Up Tarrant. This program, we feel, has really benefited, like I said, the nonprofit population, but also the smaller businesses that are utilizing that. The larger businesses, like our Lockheed Martins and our Klein tools, obviously have large training dollars and training resources, but Skill Up has provided an affordable way for companies to provide their internal employees some of the training they need. We know that every manufacturing plant requires OSHA standards, and so some of these OSHA certificates they can go on and take the training and benefit from at no cost or very little cost. So the next one is our adult education and literacy program. We commonly refer to it as our AEL, and I know Judy's not a big fan of acronyms, but we have a lot of them in our world. But our adult education and literacy program, and I know all 3 workforce boards utilize this and have this funding, but it is the best kept secret for employers. We are able, and I know Fedra and Lori are going to talk about skills development. I won't go in that route, but we are able to braid adult education and literacy funding with other training funds to help folks that are needing to get a high school diploma, that are needing their high school equivalency. And then what's even better is we're able to go onto a work site with these training providers and do workplace literacy, helping folks that English is not their first language, helping them understand their workplace readiness, their how to understand a manufacturing site or their facility at a logistics plant. These funds are open for any type of business. They're customizable, and what's great is, just like skills development, the training providers come out on site to the business. So the businesses don't have to send their talent anywhere, their employees anywhere. They come, the training providers come on site, and it gives those employees some sense of encouragement, faith that this work site or their employer has is investing in them. And that's a retaining tool. Essentially, that's something that is low cost, not a lot of investment on the employer side. Typically employers, for instance, I'll use Gaylord Texan, for example, they utilize these AEL, adult education literacy, these funding to have folks come on site and train their folks in leadership, but also basic entry level workplace literacy. And a lot of people ask, well, is it Spanish speaking? It caters to Spanish speakers, Vietnamese speakers. It is understanding your workplace functions in the English language, as that may not be your first language. So these courses, we've seen a lot of companies, and there's a list, I don't have to read them, but the companies that are involved have been able to incentivize this and keep people on an hour after their shift ends, pay them while they're going through this training. And like I said, it's 10 to 12 weeks, but it's something that it's a tangible that the employer can do to show that employee or those in group of employees they're invested, they want to promote them. And we've seen quite a few, especially at companies like Klein Tools and Flexingate, which are manufacturing, that they've actually been able to promote folks within. We had a gal at Flexingate who during the pandemic was on the shop floor. She was in one of the entry level roles. She went through the adult education and literacy, workplace literacy, and basically was she was upgraded and promoted to a supervisor during the height of the pandemic when things were shut down. We know manufacturing didn't shut down, but she was promoted, and her story is just amazing how she felt the employer, Flexingate, had so much faith and confidence in her that she wanted to do her best. Moving forward, she wanted to do her best, and she wanted to, she wanted to grow with the company. And I think that's one of those basically retaining tools. Yeah, retaining your talent is super important. I may have missed something, so Judy, I'll let you step in.
I think we've covered our section. We are passionate about what we do, and again, we do all this in partnership with strong boards and relationships with all this is with the chamber and the city, the EDCs, and the community colleges, and much more. But this is just a sampling of what's on our menu, and I will let my neighbors proceed with telling you more.
Great, thank you so much, Tarrant County friends. You guys are awesome, as well as our Dallas County friends. What I wanted to share really quickly, and Judy didn't share this, but I think it's kind of fun to share with all of you, is that we named ourselves the Power of Three. And so I just want to provide some context around what that means, because it's important for you all to see the value of the Power of Three relationship that Judy, Lori, and I have. So yes, we have our individual board areas. So you know that there's Dallas and Tarrant counties. They have their individual board area. We as North Central Texas, if you don't know, we're the donut with sprinkles around Dallas and Tarrant counties. But what I'd like to share is that even though we have our individual board areas, that doesn't define how we work. So we come together so often in so many ways to lift up the region as a whole. And I think that's really important to those who are joining us, and obviously those who are members of this organization, in the sense that we're always looking out on behalf of the North Texas region, and how can we better align partnerships, relationships, and efforts so that it isn't one board against the other, but rather how can the tri-board relationship benefit North Texas? So I'm really excited about that, and Lori and Judy have just been so instrumental in really forging forward our Power of Three relationship, and they just do such a phenomenal job. So what I'm going to do is kind of take us back to some contextual things with regards to what we define as economic development success. And for us, there are three main ingredients: education, workforce, and industry. We find that these three ingredients are really the bedrock to all that we do that leads to economic development success for the region. And again, I tend to speak more about holistic efforts and not just individual efforts, because we have that covered. But really, threaded into all three of these ingredients is really our ecosystem of partnerships, not just in our board areas and through the region, but obviously the state and also on a national level. We're always looking at ways to forge these relationships, because through these relationships comes collaboration, creativity, and innovation. And just like what Judy had shared early on, and Lori is the same, is we're always striving for what is that evolution of the public workforce system that benefits our residents. And that's something that's always at the forefront of what we've done, and what we do moving forward is, what is Workforce 2.0? Because we need to go in that direction, because our customers, the various customers that we serve, they are needing and actually demanding more from us. So we have to evolve and be more agile to be responsive to what those partnership needs are. So what I wanted to share in the next slide is really getting into the education piece of things as well as the priorities. So what I'd like to share is that we really have placed a strong emphasis on education, and I know that Dallas and Tarrant do as well. And I wanted to bring some specific examples to this conversation so that you can understand how it relates to potentially you and or the circle that you run in within your respective communities to see the power of what we can provide and how we can help support economic development from the education perspective. So a couple of things that we're really focused on, and of course this list is not inclusive, our work never stops and it's pretty deep, and as Judy said, we could be here all day, likely tomorrow, to talk about all the things that we do, can do, and offer, but unfortunately Prit didn't give us that much time. That's okay, Prit. So what I wanted to hit on is really our focus on aligning our local ISDs and community colleges to our industry partners. And so what we've really found out is that there hasn't been that robust of dialogue happening pre-pandemic, and then obviously during pandemic a little bit. But I think the pandemic in some respects have really benefited the workforce system because it's forced us in a very inviting way to be more creative in how we're contributing to the economic development success of our region. And so what we really are focusing our educational efforts on is really establishing relationships with our local ISDs and our community colleges and bringing in industry at the table so that we can better understand what are the industry's needs for their workforce, but where do we start this process, not post-graduation from high school or upon just education from school, but how can we better prepare a skilled and ready workforce to step into those high demand occupations in our region. And so one thing, and I know that our board friends do the same thing, and it's actually offered throughout the state in some of our boards, is we do actually offer teacher externship opportunities. And I love this program. So we sponsor teachers from local high schools to actually give up a week of their summer vacation. And I know sometimes that can be difficult. However, you'd be surprised at how many teachers take advantage of this opportunity, where we take teachers from the high schools and we actually place them with an industry or an employer within that community or region or county, if you will, to better understand what are the today needs and skills and understanding that the students need to have coming into the workplace. And so what's so beautiful about this is that the teachers may not have that now a day touch point to really understand and grasp what the industries or employers are needing. So they can spend a week, understand, see things from a practical hands-on standpoint, or from that standpoint, and then go back and develop curriculum based on what they learned and based on what the industry's needs are. And so they can teach this then in the classrooms and provide this pre-glance, if you will, for the students who are interested in going into these particular industries or job sectors or whatever that may be. And so we actually have certificates that we issue to these teachers. We actually had 25 teachers go through last year. We're actually increasing the externship opportunity, and we provide funding to offset supplies and program costs and so forth. So it's a real partnership that we bring to the table. But again, it's kind of the reverse from an internship, but it's a teacher externship and the value that they bring back to the classroom based on real-time information from the industry needs that are out there. As you all know, and I'll talk a little bit more about apprenticeship a little bit later in the discussion, but we're advancing more work in the pre-apprenticeship program. So high school students, again, can take advantage of pre-apprenticeship programs so they can start dabbling in the industries that they're interested in and not waiting until they graduate and then they decide, oh, I really missed the mark. That's not really what I wanted to do. And they've kind of wasted some opportunities, not to mention the employers didn't really hit the mark in fulfilling their workforce needs. So this is, again, is just an example of how we're getting back into the education space or getting into the education space and linking industry to those efforts so that we're more aligning the needs and the demands and how we need to bridge the gap where those exist. And then, of course, we have career and technical education opportunities, and this is really a great opportunity, again, to make sure that we provide the real-time career and technical education opportunities and trainings in the classrooms, and we bring money for that as well. And, of course, something that you may or may not be aware of, but our JET grant. So those are jobs and education for Texans. And this is grant money that we pull down from Texas Workforce Commission, helps defray costs, and it allows us with our local ISDs and community colleges and so forth to bring in cutting edge equipment from those high demand industries into the classroom spaces. So the students are learning and getting a feel for and a taste of what this career will look like, as well as building up their skills. Oftentimes, by utilizing this equipment and going through these programs and classes, it's leading to them securing licenses and certificates before they graduate from high school. And then, of course, sometimes this is enough of wetting their whistle that they want to pursue post-secondary degrees. And what does this all lead to? Employability, which equates to economic development for our region. And then, of course, from the education space, we really want to make sure that we provide students with hands-on learning opportunities and exposure to employers and industry. So we host iWork events where we will bring the employers and industry that we work with to particular venues within our region. And then we invite school districts to bus in their students so that they can have these one-on-one conversations. They can go sit in a bulldozer or a Caterpillar tractor or whatever that may be outside and have real-time conversations with those who are in the industry to better make sure that they're in alignment and that this is exactly what they want to pursue. And here are all the options and ways that they can do that. So with our next slide, I'd like to really focus in on our talent pipeline. Again, this is so critical, and Renee and Judy touched on this, is what are we doing to develop the talent pipeline, not from a short-term perspective, but short, mid, and long-term. Really happy to share that our team supported almost $40 million in grant applications dedicated to increasing the skills of our North Central Texas workforce. And the way that we do that is by accessing funds, skills development funds, as well as skills for small business grants. And really, the skills development funds, this is an opportunity to use grant money to better collaborate with our local community colleges and employers to design those customized training programs. Renee had touched on this in her presentation. But what I wanted to share is that over the past 5 years, North Central Texas has helped to bring in $7 million to the region to train and upskill new and incumbent workers. And again, these are tools that the economic development corporations can have in their toolbox, if you will, that helps retain employers in our area, as well as help recruit employers who want to set up shop and have the assurances that there's some additional statewide funding that will train new workers, and help upskill the workers that they have. As you all know, we have a diverse employer base. We have employers that might have 500 plus employees, and we have employers who might only have 2 to 9 employees. And so I'm really excited that TWC looks at it from that holistic standpoint and trying to provide diverse opportunities for employers and your workforce boards to actually access funds to help build up the workforce. And so there is a grant out there, small business grants, and this is available to employers that have 2 to 9 employees. And this is where we can provide funding to the employers so that they can send their employees to local community colleges to take courses related to their occupation. And again, what does that lead to? It leads to upskilling, upward professional mobility, which of course contributes to economic development in our region. Couple other things that I wanted to share. I know Renee had shared on the adult education and literacy providers. Another example that we can share is that we were working with a Montessori in Collin County. This employer really needed to help bridge the gap for some of the employees who didn't have English as their first language, be able to bridge those gaps. So what we did is we accessed some of the training dollars and the providers, and we helped bring in providers who would teach English to the Spanish-speaking employees of this particular Montessori. And again, it's used as a retention tool, so we had more staff stay, and it helped the employees be more effective, which again contributes to the employer's bottom line, which all leads back to economic development. So you can kind of see this theme that all that workforce does, it's all related to and supporting economic development for our particular local board areas, the region, and of course, the state. The other piece too that I wanted to share is the apprenticeship program. What is old is new again. The only thing that we did is we just dusted off the playbook. Sometimes people will think, oh, those apprenticeships, those are for really the dark warehouses and grimy things and all that. It's all changed. And that's what I'm so excited to share, is that we've all recognized that we have to dust off the stigma of working in a warehouse or doing logistics in the distribution center or whatever that may be. The same goes with the apprenticeship program. So I'm really happy to share that we work very closely with the Department of Labor representatives for our region. I know Dallas and Tarrant does as well. Department of Labor cites that 93% of those who go through apprenticeship programs are retained by the employer. The great thing about this is these are paid job experiences. From day one, those who are in the apprenticeship program actually start earning a wage. They're part of the employer's culture. They're paired with mentors within the employer venue. And this is, again, helping people feel welcomed, supported, and being trained. And they don't have to stop life in order to do this, but they're rather getting paid so that they can actually do both, learn and earn, and still take care of their families or whatever their home situations may look like. Paid job experiences, and we provide funding in order for these apprenticeship programs to be running throughout our North Central Texas region. Currently, we have 36 active apprenticeship programs. We're seeing apprenticeship opportunities or programs in fields that we've not yet seen before, but again, it just shows the demand that's out there. So we're seeing apprenticeship programs for healthcare, childcare, teachers, your basic construction. We have apprenticeship programs running in aviation, manufacturing, HVAC, hospitality, you name it. So the Department of Labor actually has a list of registered apprenticeship programs. I think their number is maybe 500 or so. And we have quite a few of those, as I mentioned, with the 36 active ones that we have. We've been really successful in this space. And so Brandy and her team actually helped craft a grant application, and we just received an award, or 2 awards, if you will, to expand our current apprenticeship programs, totaling almost $1 million. And again, this is for employers who we're currently working with to expand their programs, offer another cohort of apprenticeship opportunities, as well as bring in more opportunities for candidates to be part of these programs. The other thing that I'd like to share, and I'll go back to the pre-apprenticeship program, is we have great momentum with Bombardier, Carbon Aerospace, even L3 Harris, where we're really dipping back into the education space. And how can we develop pre-apprenticeship programs and using the funding that we have access through TWC to help support those pre-apprenticeship programs? Again, the great thing about these opportunities is that we're exposing the students to what an apprenticeship program would look like once they're out of high school or whatever school situation that might look like for them. And it's possible that they're already able to earn some credit that would reduce the amount of time that they need to be in the apprenticeship program, which means their full-time job offer could be waiting for them sooner than once they actually finish the full apprenticeship program. So again, it's utilizing these funding resources provided by Texas Workforce Commission that is all to work and support economic development for our region. So the next slide that I'd like to share and hit on is really, what does this toolbox look like? As Judy and Renee shared, we have so much available at our fingertips. We're kind of the best kept secret. We don't take that lightly. It's actually not a good thing, but we're hoping that with today's presentation, we can share some information with you all. Hopefully you all will share it forward and that you'll connect with us so that you can take advantage of all of these wonderful opportunities that are in our fingertips, at our fingertips, and available to you all. So some of the things that we're doing as well is really looking at ourselves as service optimizers. So when we're working with employers, we really just want to sit down and listen. What are your pain points? What are your challenges? Not look at it from just a short-term perspective, but what are you staging up for and where are you trying to go? And then we can better match the services that we have available versus kind of having a fire hose approach of, we do all these things for you, but then we leave with not really a plan of action. So service optimization is really listening and figuring out what are some targeted service delivery models and tried and true applications that are relevant to the employer that's going to lead to strong outcomes. Not we have all this, we walk away and it falls flat. The other thing too is that we bring a lot of information with us. So we already understand and have a good read on the in-demand occupations and industries in our region, our respective regions, if you will, and also what those quality jobs are. We are here to place people in careers, and we want to make sure that we're moving away from this is just kind of a short-term stint, we'll get you in and hope for the best, but we really want to lead to a long-term career pathway with career mobility opportunities, as well as contributing to economic prosperity, not just for the person and their families, but also contributing to the region. And of course, as we talked about earlier, just really expanding training opportunities. We want to help upskill our local talent pool. We have a lot of people in our region and the state, for that matter, that actually has some pretty basic level skills, but we have funding available to help upskill them. And we want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that we're listening to employers and industry. Here are the skills that I need. And we take somebody who might have a basic level of skills and we help provide training to them so that they can get to where the employer needs to be. And then of course, we have additional resources for the employer to tap into to continue those upskilling opportunities. So with the next slide, I'd like to dive in really quickly to where do we really see ourselves as providing economic development collaboration out to our region. And so we're investing a lot of energy into right-sizing our team with the right talent. And again, we can't share all of this great information with our employers if we're not doing it ourselves in-house to match the employer's needs and what we're coaching and guiding the employers on. So we have what we call investment in our industry and workforce engagement specialists. Some of you might know them as business development specialists or business development liaisons. We're actually becoming more in tune with how the employers can better understand what workforce is. So we have industry and workforce engagement specialists. They're out there meeting with employers and industries. They're equipped with labor market data. They're also thought leaders so that they're forecasting trends and providing all the employers and those who are in the economic development corporations with labor market indicator insights. What do you need to be prepared for? What's happening out on the national landscape? And what can we do to set you up for long-term success? For business attraction, we really work closely with our EDCs, and we always want to be at the table. So one great example, and we work so closely with the Frisco EDCs, are just such great partners, is we're part of their workforce task force. So as they're retaining businesses in the Frisco area, as well as looking to expand and bring in new business, we're at the table with other stakeholders from the community. So the local ISDs, we're at the table, the community colleges, so that we're demonstrating a partnership, a ready-made partnership that's deep-rooted in relationship building and collaboration, so that when employers come or are courting us or we're courting them, they're not trying to piece this all together, but we're kind of a ready-made show. And we run into people everywhere, our partners everywhere, and it's as if we have just an extension of the workforce team. And so this is a really key, I think, nugget for economic development corporations to know that we are available and we want to be at the table before you even get started. So we're in partnership and in concert with your goals and objectives to retain and expand businesses in your particular areas. And of course, as I talked about earlier, it's really about awareness building and career exploration. Again, we work really closely with the Wiley and McKinney Economic Development Corporations, and they're hosting manufacturing days. We're at the table, we're collaborating, we're talking to their members and their partners, all in a way that we can strengthen economic development for the particular areas that are represented in our board areas. So in the next slide, I just wanted to hit on some other points. And this is really some intentionality around all that we do. And this is really, I would have to say, spread throughout all the workforce boards, but really intentional industry engagement. So yes, we still have our one-off conversations with our employers, but we're looking at trying to get more traction and depth. And so we've taken kind of a pause and said, how can we do our work more effectively and more efficiently, but with some bigger wins faster. So we've actually adopted a mindset of sector-based strategies. We actually lifted the construction and infrastructure sector work so that we're bringing like companies together to talk about the common challenges and to also come up with solutions for the whole. And in these sector-based strategy meetings, we bring in stakeholders from the education world, from other additional partners, so that everybody's hearing what these sector-based challenges are, so we can attack it from a collaborative and from a team approach, not the one-offs, which we won't get as far as we need to. And quite frankly, businesses can't wait. Their pace is accelerated, and we have to accelerate our pace and our response as well. Again, we are at the table with any and all economic development partners and chambers of commerce within our region. We really want to be at the table to talk about how can the workforce system better support you and your goals and objectives. What are those gaps? What are those challenges? And what do we need to do to be the convener of partners and really push on the innovative and the creativity to get us to where we need to be? And of course, 2 more bullet points really is aligning education and training. We want people to be educated, but we also need them to be trained. We want to provide this skilled and ready-made workforce to the employers. So again, it's finding the available funding, linking to providers who do the training that produce the strong outcomes that our employers and our businesses are needing from us. And lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't share and point out how important it is, the relationships that we have with our community-based organizations. So the Goodwills, the United Ways, the food banks, you name it, those community-based organizations, they're also on the ground working hard to make sure that our residents have what they need, from food insecurities to stable income, to shelter, to housing, you name it. And so we are looking at talent adjacent issues, barriers that get in the way of people finding careers or training and skilling up to have a career. And childcare, as Judy mentioned earlier, we do manage childcare on behalf of the state of Texas. We are managing significant and unprecedented funding. We are working hard to make sure that childcare is not a barrier to people stepping into having a career. And so we provide to eligible income families scholarships so that there is a portion of shared responsibility in the financing for providing childcare to those who are seeking employment. And of course, transportation, we're busting at the seams in Texas. What a great time to be in Texas. And so we know we have transportation issues. We have more and more people moving in. We have some constraints with regards to infrastructure not keeping up. So we need to be really creative to recognize that there are barriers to people getting to their places of employment because they may not have a car, they may not have money to put gas in their tank, or even to be able to get from one side of the city to the other. And so we're looking at our alignment and collaborations with community-based organizations to shore up those issues that also impact somebody getting on a career pathway. So just wanted to share that from us from North Central Texas so that you can kind of see a different flavor, but it's all tied to the work that we boards do on behalf of the state of Texas. And then I will turn it over to Lori, who will hit on the points that Tarrant and North Central Texas have not covered yet. Lori?
Thank you so much, Phaedra. Great presentation, both you, Renee, Judy. Thank you again. I'm going to talk a little more about the application of this work. And I've been monitoring the chat. There's only one question, and thank you, Lance from Granbury. Great question was, can we come up with a brochure that would serve the region instead of all of our multiple conversations? And I've assured him, I think that would be a good idea. Something that would be more versatile for all of the people listening today so that they know each one of us has a hybrid of what you've heard, but it's all seriously the same government flair. Having said that, I do want to talk about other things that go on in our industry. Mine is, of course, the Dallas County area, and Dallas County is going to be different. That's just the way we are. We have established a long-term partnership between the Dallas College, which used to be Dallas County Community College, Dallas College, and the Dallas Regional Chamber. So in the Dallas County area, which is our jurisdiction, we approach employers together. we come together and we talk about the multiple, not only the braided funding within a workforce board, but the braided initiatives in our community. And in doing that, we've tapped into some things that are maybe unique to this conversation. I just want to share those with you. I don't want you to think this is the entire picture, because there are other things we have learned to do beyond public money. One of the things we are doing most importantly, and this is with public money, is co-staffing several situations with our chamber. This goes back more than 23 years that we have done co-staffing with our chamber. We do this for sector strategies, both in healthcare, I think, was the initiative that began that our effort. We now do a full-time person who works on my staff, but is managed at the chamber for data. And he is doing a marvelous job, works with Dwayne Dankes-Ryder, who most of you all know, working on data collection and data analysis. We've had 3 people come through that job. Apparently, we train them so well, private sector hires them away from us. But they've done an excellent job. I'll give you an example of one of the things. We did a supply chain analysis, particularly for the inland port. And we do a lot of work around the inland port. As Phaedra was talking about transportation, it occurred to me, we have the micro transit conversation. We've presented that at the state and national level now, talking about how you move people even within Dallas County to get to the job they need. And so there's a lot of conversation, I think, that possibly could benefit us talking about the region, not just Dallas County, and how to replicate that sector initiative that's geographic and bring that to some of the areas in the Metroplex. Happy to do that. Another thing that I really want to bring up, we have such a great relationship with the Dallas College, and I'm going to brag a little. We did bring home a national award last week. In fact, I was with the college board yesterday to present that award. There is such synergy in working with your education partner, economic development partner, and workforce partner. It's the 3 legs of the stool. And I encourage everyone here who's listening, please don't think this is a one-off or that your work with a college is a one-off. I think your responsibility in economic development is to bring it all together, to use what's out here as a package, as a conversation, and that you have relationships. And I strongly say relationships. I've been in this position 34 years. I have done 2 other boards in Texas, so all total 45 years. And relationships are they're the meat of this. Relationships. You have to know the person. You have to be able to text that person when it's urgent. You have to all be willing to come to the table when the employer is hot and ready to talk. We're very happy with what we've created here. I want it to continue, but I also want it to replicate. One of the things that we have done in Dallas, and you'll notice on our logo, 40 years. We are celebrating 40 years as a nonprofit corporation this year. That goes all the way back to something called the Private Industry Councils under JTPA. I mean, we are a legacy organization, as the other 2 boards are. We have come through decades, more than 5 decades of creation of workforce and innovation of workforce from a government investment. Government resource. What we've done in the last 5 years in Dallas for the Dallas board is concentrate on private investment. And in that time, we are nearing the $10 million mark. I'd like to tell you there is an opportunity here for employers who want it to do a fee for service, or to do a grant investment, or to simply talk about their needs and how we share cost. Some of their needs have been diversity, equity, inclusion. We have several vendors that are talking to us or giving us investment fund to make sure that we use our system to benefit their employment. That's become a very hot item on our list. Just to run through our private activities, Connect You to Jobs. It's a federal highway project. It's not our money. It's coming to Texas Highway. It's coming through the college district, but we're in the room. And this is benefiting Weber, Austin Bridge, creativity at its height, 5 to 10 young people who predominantly of color, who have a background problem. They've been involved in criminal justice, And yet we're making a difference. They're coming through getting a high school diploma, getting several credentials to work in the highway industry, and think how desperate the highway industry is to build. Look at all of, all of the orange cones all over Texas, but all over the Metroplex. We don't have the young people energized about this work. Well, this project is getting them energized. It has been so impactful that Secretary Buttigieg has mentioned it in his speeches. This is where we have to get really creative, do niche work, maybe even brutally creative, to figure out how to find the right workforce for all of our employers. Another one that we've done well, I would say, is the Walmart work that we've done. Walmart has been a great investor in our work. They didn't realize, and I think both Judy and Phaedra talked about how we are performance driven. One thing we have that most people in the country who are looking for grant investment do not have is data that is not anecdotal, and it is not us saying this is what we do. It is data that is confirmed by wage records. And that is a critical issue here. Our data isn't like any other. And we are lucky in Texas that we have access to that data. We can give aggregate data about the success of a program 2 years after the graduates have left the program. And that is a phenomenal resource for people who really want to do specific work and make sure that they're improving on that work. And encourage you to state that we have data that is that concrete. It's very helpful. Much like the other two boards have talked about, we all use something called metrics. We are all involved with people about online upskilling. Online upskilling is very good, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of tenacity. So we have bridged that with our Walmart money to talk about the hand-holding that is required, the squiring, if you would, the coming back and inviting people back in to finish their course. We know we need this hybrid. It can be in person and online, but you can't just turn someone loose and say, go get your credentials. So we're trying to build a system. We've given Walmart money coming through our board, going out to 4 other workforce boards in Texas to amplify the need, saying we've got to find a way to get people through online. Have any of you tried online? It gets old when it's just you and there's no impetus. So we're also trying to engage employers to recognize that online activity and encourage it. That's the only way we have found that it makes a big difference in upskilling. A few more things that we've done. Fame. Fame is a brand for Toyota inspired training in manufacturing. And we brought the second FAME chapter to Texas. First was down in San Antonio. We created it with the Garland Manufacturers Association. It's done so well that now there is the creation of a South Dallas FAME chapter that will be coming out in 2024. What does that mean? Well, that means that we have finally found something that can engage youth at the 11th grade in the schools, particularly in the Garland schools right now, engage youth in high-end manufacturing skill, technique, culture, and bringing them through a 2-year program, then initiating their activity into community college, and being of value to the manufacturers in our community. Is still a booming industry in the Metroplex. Another one that you might be interested in, of course, is TI and the chip manufacturing. I believe they also have said that the FAME program will be of benefit to TI. So that's one of the reasons we're amplifying FAME at this point. We've won it, I guess we've done FAME for about 5 years now. Garland District loves it. Upskilling in Dallas, we did put out some money. I want to talk about the reticence of employers to get involved in this. We put out $650,000 last summer, inviting employers to the table to say, yes, let us help you upskill. Employers who really need it are very hesitant to say, yes, I would like that government money, because government money tends to come in and then be audited and so forth. We're trying to find a better way to do that. We'd love to work with economic development to figure that one out. There is money. It has to be with the employer, but there are many, many ways we've created to do that upskilling without the employer actually receiving government money and feeling the need or the advantage of the government money. Sometimes we can use a training provider like Dallas College to mitigate any kind of exposure for the employer. To say we have all been creative is an understatement. I think between the Tarrant board, North Central, and Dallas boards, we compete, which is lovely, but we also coordinate and we bring to each other a little more initiative each time. Those were just a few of the things that I know we do that we weren't doing 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And there will be things that you can help us create for the next 5 years. And I don't think any of us are looking further than 3 to 5 years. That's how fast everything is changing. We have had experience now in artificial intelligence. During COVID, we worked with a group in Plano. It was brought together by a national organization. Turns out in Plano, there is someone that was creating a virtual system for sterilization of medical equipment. Imagine how important that was during a time when we couldn't get people into hospitals to learn to do medical sterilization of medical equipment. We were able to put on the goggles, bring them into a workforce center, and teach them how to do that. Then they could go in and apply for a job. During a time when healthcare was struggling and none of us could go into the hospitals just willy-nilly. Some of the other things I think are just anecdotal, but I do wish I could brought customers to you today, the job seeker customer, to say, look what it did for my life. We have several videos on our website that talk about that say, I was making $15 an hour. I was flipping burgers somewhere. I was working tables. And now I'm in the medical profession. Now I'm in manufacturing. And I'm not just loading boxes and seeing that they get to delivery. I'm actually learning more skills on the job so that I can have a better life. And that's really what all of us are about, is all economy is based upon the economy of our individuals and our businesses. And we're here to help you inspire a much better economy. I'll leave it at that. I know there's got to be more questions going on. And Patel, thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you, Phaedra, Judy, and Lori. I mean, the wealth of information you've provided today, I know is beneficial to the attendees, and we're just so grateful. Phaedra, I know you and I've talked a lot about workforce centers, and so I'm wondering if you, Lori, or Judy, somebody could talk a little bit about how we have these centers that are in communities across the region.
You bet. Thank you, Britt. And certainly Judy and Lori can chime in as well. I think it's important for everyone on this call to understand that each of our board areas, we have workforce centers scattered throughout our region. And these are bricks and mortar locations that deliver direct services and programs to our career seekers. So we have under those roofs, we have a lot of subject matter experts. In some situations and in some centers, we'll have childcare staff, again, trying to resolve talent adjacent issues and barriers to stepping into employment. So there are caseworkers who are working with individuals to help identify, well, what are your childcare needs? If that's a barrier to getting into employment, how can we provide assistance? And typically this is through scholarship in order to secure spaces in childcare provider venues so that individuals can return back to work. We also have resource centers so that you can come in, anybody off the street can come in and they can be guided to a resource center to access Work in Texas, the Work in Texas database management system, where job openings are posted and you can actually see what employers are hiring, the jobs, the so forth. And these are available to all of our residents in the state of Texas for that matter. We have staff on site who will help you write your resumes, help guide you to make sure that you have the missing pieces and skills in order to go for those job openings that you find in Work in Texas. So if you're missing some critical specialized skills or you just need some English language classes, we pair you with people. We have support services and funding to offset those barriers, again, to skill you up to be ready to step into the job that you're looking for, the career pathway, if you will. We also do a great job working to help those who are transitioning from the military service to civilian careers. So making sure that we can understand, well, you have these skills and it might be military vernacular, but we help translate it to what the civilian employer work base is looking for. And so we help kind of do that crosswalk because our veterans are highly trained, highly skilled, and very educated. And just because they were in a military career, that doesn't mean that they don't have transferable skills to to the careers that we have available in the private sector. So we help bridge that gap and kind of do that interpretation so that we can also get those individuals on their feet when they make those transition decisions. We also work with vocational rehabilitation. So those who might have varying degrees of disabilities, this is a significant workforce opportunity for us, and really making sure, again, that economic development corporations, as you're courting employers to come to our region or to retain employers, we have these workforce centers where we can patch all the services and programs and resources to career seekers, because we're kind of that link between the career seekers and the employers and so forth. And again, we stand ready to help in any way possible. And with the funding that we have access to, it's more about making sure, like Lori said, we just need to be at the table. Please reach out to us. We each have our individual websites. We have testimonials, we have videos, share us forward on Facebook. We need you to help get the word out, because we alone can't do it ourselves. But we know with the relationships that we have, you can help push the workforce solutions and the opportunities that are available throughout our entire region.
Thank you.
If I can just offer one more thing. Sorry, Judy. I think one challenge we are not particularly good at, and I'm just going to be real candid about our workforce center activity. Maybe employers on the line or economic development professionals can think about this one. We have a lot of generally educated college graduates. These would be young people that did not pursue a specific degree that would lead them to engineering or healthcare, but did a general studies degree. Oftentimes we get parents calling us saying, what can we do with our college graduate now? And I was one of those. So psychology degrees can lead you to a workforce profession. But I think it would be important to talk about how could we better assist college graduates who didn't have a specific line of sight line to their work, to their career. And if you know of any employers who are looking for college grads, regardless of career, that's one thing that I think we could do a lot better in our community and probably throughout the nation, guiding them after a degree to something that highly specified. And so there's a part of upskilling in that. Maybe it's specified skilling so that they would be appropriate for the work that is out there. Just want to throw that out as a challenge. Thanks.
Okay, so then I'll chime in. So that's our centers that are brick and mortar, but again, due to COVID, everything went virtual, and we all developed great tools. And I think that some of these really helped the customer that Lori just mentioned, that I think probably would not have walked into our centers. And so now people can really go through orientation, they can get the training, they can have chat, they can have a conversation, they can do job fairs, job fairs virtually. And we have a huge population that is what they prefer. I mean, we always still have customers that want to come in, but our virtual services, that's very robust system. So
from taking assessments to virtual career fairs, it is really grown.
So I saw something in the chat, and it was a question of what can the EDCs do to continue to support y'all and our workforce boards. And I think really it's recognizing the opportunities that the public workforce system has available to support and lead to economic development. And I think anytime that you're having conversations, or you don't know how to do this, or you need to bolster this package or what have you, go to your local workforce board and just reach out, because we stand ready to be at the table to bring information, to bring resources, to access funding, and to convene additional stakeholders and partners that you may not be working with in order to have a collaborative conversation of what the potential actually is, right? And so I think that we can provide all that additional value. And it is interesting to me, we just worked with somebody who was coming into the Alliance area. He was working on behalf of a potential customer in Alliance, and this project manager had no idea about what a workforce board is. And so we teamed up with Tarrant County because we actually co-locate at a workforce center just underneath the Denton border where we are, and they're happy to house us and we're happy to be there. But we created this opportunity to bring all of our resources and kind of distill it down so that this person understands really the breadth of what we have to offer, not to mention an ability to sweeten the pot as to why wouldn't an employer not want to stay in North Texas, or why wouldn't an employer not want to relocate to North Texas? And so, you know, while that is still kind of evolving, the great thing is we just made another workforce advocate. And so now this person who does work throughout the entire country knows that when I go into a place and I need to project manage this, or I don't know where to start from a business perspective, I know now to reach out to my local workforce board because they run a gamut of opportunities and resources and funding that they might not otherwise know or be able to access. And so we are a really strong conduit to creating all things possible. And what I love the most is that we really do focus in on the localization of our employers' needs, our education partner needs, you name it. We've got that read and that beat. And so just bring us to the table so we can continue to bring our tool chest of all things that will help bolster economic development and really show the strength of what we have to offer in the North Texas market.
Phaedra, I want to add one thing, advice from someone who's been at it a long time. Build the relationship before you need it. Don't wait until you've got a prospect in front of you. Don't wait to figure out who's your best ally on the workforce staff. We have so many staff in the workforce centers. We have business development people that can be your go-to person. And that's what Phaedra meant, the localizing. Even in Dallas, we work by area of town. We're very diverse across just Dallas County. So I have people that specialize in that part of town, that they look after the employers and the economic development professionals. Please make friends now. Don't wait until there's a prospect in front of you. I see Renee nodding.
And there's a lot of truth to that too, because we've been a part of signing NDAs when economic development corporations are courting new employers to move to the area. And so we're happy to sign NDAs, and trust me, we hold that in utmost confidentiality because we want to win the deal, right? But they can also tell, we were actually part of one recently where we were able to present, and the employer that was being courted, they could sense our relationship, that it wasn't just formed the night before, to Lori's point. These are deep-rooted relationships. They take time. There's trust involved, and there's just a deep-seated relationship that people can pick up on that. And it's so fun when you go to one location, another location, and you always kind of make a joke like, are you following me or am I following you? But that just is a testament to how well we work together and the power of what we can do when we're already working together on a day in and day out basis, not when it's a crisis or we're standing to lose something. People pick up on that. And I think that is one thing that is very key and unique to those of us who live in Texas, is we understand the power of relationship and working together to achieve those bigger goals.
We've got a couple of questions in the chat. I know we have several folks from ISDs that are on joining the webinar this morning. So one question is from Angela Wygant. Are there programs to assist ISDs in attracting industry professionals in high demand fields into our schools, specifically for the pre-apprenticeship education programs? And she noted that schools are struggling with attracting and retaining industry into the education system, particularly in those high demand fields.
I think that, I don't want to overstep, but I do think that industry is being stretched in so many different ways. I think we see it all the time that industry is being asked to serve on advisory committees and, helping grow the local ISDs. We created something that was the local career and technology directors in Tarrant County, just really years ago through our aerospace consortium, to help these CTE directors, career and technology education directors, really understand what the industry industry looks like, but also bring industry to them. Because I know that they don't have the time to search for industry partnerships. And oftentimes educators are in the classroom, career and tech directors are focusing on credits and programs. And also a lot of the ISDs have come to us and asked us for target occupation lists. Tell us what the lists look like. Tell us what the labor market data looks like. All of that stuff I know Fedra and Lori covered, but we can provide a lot of that data that shows you this program is going to be successful in Tarrant County and maybe not successful in East Texas or something like that. So those kind of things, certainly we are involved with our ISDs. Specifically Tarrant, we serve on many advisory committees for the local independent school districts. I think we have 19 here. And of those, we also serve on their P-Tech high schools, which are their high schools that are getting college credit while they're also getting their high school education. They'll graduate with an associate's degree and a high school diploma, which is huge as they're entering industry. So industry loves to be involved in those, specifically Arlington ISD. They're doing a cybersecurity one. And Arlington ISD came to us very early and asked, what programs are in demand? What should we focus on? What are y'all seeing? And so, you know, cybersecurity is something we all hear about and it's certainly needed. And they implemented that and brought Bell to the table, formerly Bell Helicopter, and they are one of their biggest champions in that program. Not even in the same city, but that's just the relationships with partnering. And I think workforce boards are the ultimate partner. I mean, you know.
And I think to augment too, what Renee is sharing, and again, it just shows you everything that the spaces in which we're working, but there is the tri-agency report and the Region 10 and Region 11, which is obviously a consortium that's representing the school districts. And we are plugged into those. In fact, there's a convener grant that came out. We're part of that. I think it's been issued or it's going to be issued. But again, it's having deliberative, I don't want to say mandates, that's kind of the wrong word, but deliberative intention around making sure that industry and workforce is engaged with education and vice versa. I can share too that we just restructured, again, all to be more in alignment with private sector demands and needs so that it's not our education team going out just to talk to the education or the ISD person, right? Oh, no. Let's bring our industry and workforce engagement specialists so that we can make connectivity in those real-time conversations and not going independently from one another and then either dropping it or then trying to figure out how do we patch this together when we get back to the shop, right? But actually showing how multifaceted we are, but how we have to hug the education folks to better understand here's what we have available, but you have to have some skin in the game. The employers have to have some skin in the game. And this is kind of that targeted service delivery model that we can attack it from all different approaches. One way to go about it shouldn't be the answer to everything because there's no silver bullet to try to fix this. It's really a collective in how we go about it.
Phaedra, one more response on that about attracting professionals into the schools. Now, we've done really well with the education specialist. I have 4 now working in just the Dallas County area. But one thing that is in our programs that I don't think we talked about, we have a relationship with the senior programs. In our area, it's through AARP. I think a lot of times we don't realize that bringing someone who has been in industry back into the schools, people retire early in a lot of cases. I can think of, the major accounting houses have a mandatory retirement. Some of the lawyers have a mandatory retirement. It's really smart to look back at retirement. We have a program at AARP sponsors where pre-COVID, we brought people back into our centers who had been retired for a year or so and decided they needed to get back in the game. It's a heck of a resource. It is also a part of what we offer in our workforce centers, and just wanted to bring that up.
There's been several questions about, obviously with all 3 workforce boards, there's just a wealth of programs you offer. Today was focused on upskilling, but there's so much more you all do. And so I think there are a couple of questions on, are there brochures or tear sheets that kind of explain that a little more easily for all 3 boards? I think someone also noted it can be overwhelming, which, is a good thing in the sense of you're providing so many services, but is there something that might help folks who are seeking information on what the 16 county region does, explain what programs are available?
I offered an answer that said, I'm sure we can come up with something more generic, just as we've done today. among the three of us, Phaedra, we can probably just agree on what goes into that brochure. And then specifically, and I want to make a point, there are no jurisdictions for employers. We work together. If an employer happens to be in Dallas County, but reaches out to the COG because they like something that is going on at Phaedra's shop, or reaches to Tarrant County because they happen to locate in Grand Prairie, we work through that. We do not complicate matters by playing a jurisdictional game. But I think there's probably enough on the table today to put together an upskilling profile, a profile on youth engagement, perhaps a profile on something else that's very generic to resettling, at least serving the employer customers that are on the ground today and have been with us a long time, or those that are moving to the area. In fact, I think you and Judy and I can probably agree on what that looks like and spin that out. But I don't think anything like that exists currently.
Yep, absolutely. And again, that's just the demonstration again of, oh, there's an opportunity. How do we three align ourselves in order to support our 16 county region, right? It benefits all of us. And to Lori's point, I think it just is evidence of how well we work together and that we're in this to really create economic prosperity for the region. That is our goal, and bringing more people to the table to have those types of conversations and to push on the innovative and the creative, I think is where we really thrive. And I think that there are some opportunities just waiting for us. It's just a matter of bringing the right people around the table and starting the conversation.
Thank you all. I just want to share our regional economic development strategy, which does cover the 16 counties, was finalized and approved last May. And of course, a huge component of that is workforce entrepreneurship and ensuring that we've got a skilled workforce for the future, which is what you all do. And so we are, just grateful for all this wealth of information. I'll just ask if there are any additional, I don't see any additional questions, but if any of the three of you have any additional points you'd like to share, please let me know. Attendees, I will share the PowerPoint presentation and a recording of this webinar along with links to all three workforce boards with you all.
I think from all of us is thank you for this incredible opportunity to reach those who are on the call today. And I think a call to action for those who are on the call is just share this information forward. Help us spread the word about everything that is available from the North Texas lens, if you will. And don't be afraid to reach out. And even if you think, oh, is it in the Dallas County area, the Tarrant or wherever, just reach out and then we'll make sure that we're all in the right place to be able to support and assist. But it's not doing anything that really hinders our ability to keep moving us forward. And again, we get the attention from so many workforce boards throughout the country. Well, what are you doing different in Texas? Well, I think first and foremost, it starts with people, right? We do have something very unique down here. And I would have to say it's the people who we get to work with and the people who we get to serve each and every day. But it's also just demonstrated over and over again about how we work together. And we recognize, like what Lori just said, there are no boundaries to our success. It's just about pushing on what's possible and not letting go. So, but happy to make sure that we're available to support. And yes, Lori, Judy, and I will work on some type of information that we can send back to you, Prit, that you can then send out to the membership base. Does that sound good?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for assisting with that request. Lori and Judy, any last minute words? And again, thank you so much. Great. Well, again, thank you all for the presentation. And I also want to acknowledge that Renee Parker and Brandy Harrison-Totter are also involved in ensuring that this presentation happened today. We look forward to continuing to partner with you all. Obviously, workforce is essential to economic development. And I hope to host you all at future webinars, maybe on different topics or topics that you're seeing that you think are very impactful or very current to economic development. We are certainly open to suggestions. And attendees, many thanks for all of you attending this morning. All the materials will be sent out later today or tomorrow morning. So with that, I wish everyone a great rest of today and the rest of this week, and many thanks.